Okay, automatic meter reading.
All right, automatic meters. So that on page 17 starts this little introduction to automatic meters. So last Monday, Jack and Bill and the mayor and our utilities committee, which is Ben and Whitey and I, got together with the salesman from one of these companies. So Dan, he sells for Dakota Supply, and he came and gave a sales pitch, but it was very educational about these radio read water and electric meters. Okay, so the basis of this is, say on water, you do end up replacing the meter, and then there's also a radio read component on this. They said that if you're most of these go in the basement, that if you're in the basement, they look at reading distance to be 300 feet or so, and then you drive by or walk by with this handheld computer, and it receives this radio signal that's constantly going out, and it automatically reads the meter. So on the water ones, like I say, about 300 feet. Electric ones are much, much farther because they're outside. You know, they can be a quarter mile, half mile. So when we looked at this, and there's that bulleted list of things that came up as we discussed this, some of the benefits. Reduced time and expense for reading meters. That was one thing that got discussed quite a little bit, is the time and the resources that go into reading the meters. These meters do automatically notify you if there's an error or if there's some sort of a meter problem, and they also notify you of fraud. And we know that we've got some problems like that could really come in handy. Increased accuracy of metering water. I think this is really a large selling point. We know that over the course of the life of a water meter, somewhere between 10 and 20 years, and really not too much longer than 20 years is recommended, but over the time that you'll see a little corrosion on the water meter inside, this type of stuff, and it always has the effect of slowing down the water meter. The water meter can never speed up. So we know that huge majority of our water meters are pretty old, and we know that they're probably not extremely accurate in the way they meter water anymore. So this then gets to the next bullet point, the likelihood of metering more water, and then the increased revenues that brings. You know, long term, over the course of years, I feel strongly we'd see our water revenue go up. You may not bank on that just right away in the first year when we put these things in and people know that you're very closely watching their water consumption. The human nature then is to watch your water consumption too. You may actually see water consumption maybe even go down for a bit, but over time it comes right back up. So Dan the salesman did give us some of these numbers for budgeting purposes, and he was going to give me some different numbers about a large bulk purchase by all over the course of 2 years, or maybe buying a quarter each year. Anyway, I don't have those numbers yet. So these are the original numbers that he gave us about costs. So looking at those costs per unit, it's for the electric meter is $52. For a water meter it's $186. See that we have about 1,370 single-phase electric meters, and just right at 1,000 half or 3/4 inch residential water meters. So you can see what the costs are of those, and then you look at the two things that were additional, our larger meters, whether they're 3-phase electric meter or larger meters of larger water meters, something larger than 3/4 inch, and we might have about a dozen of those around them. The other cost there deals with installation, and the estimate there is $40 to have somebody install water meters for us. We would have electric staff do all of the installation of electric meters. on the electric meter, it just is actually just a swapping out of meters. There is no reusing the existing meters that we have there. Okay, so as the committee discussed this a little bit, we discussed options for financing it, and you look at the next page, or it's actually on page 19. It looks at some options about financing that with debt. We wanted to take a look at any grant opportunities, and there's not much available out there for grant opportunities. At one time, USDA said that they had a program, but they don't have a program anymore. So what we call a grant is actually through the state revolving loan fund. So we would have to finance it through the revolving loan fund, and they can give up to then 20%. It's a green energy credit, because there's a lot of energy savings involved with this project. You know, they can substantiate that as this green energy credit as 20% loan forgiveness. But then on page 18, we talk about the two items of cost savings, manual meter reading costs, and then we'll also discuss the increased amount of water revenues from the increased amount of water. Just to look at the cost per manual meter reading. This is most everybody having about a day and a half worth of reading on there. Those was a little less. It also includes 8 hours per K to sit there and input the readings into her computer. Because when they go out with this handheld unit, they come back with the handheld unit that has received all the radio signals. It goes right into a dock on Kay's computer, and all of the readings upload right into the utility billing system. So just another opportunity for labor savings there. Just to look at that with the wage and benefits. So this is just personnel costs. Monthly cost was $2,200, and the annual cost of meter reading was $27,000. Did not include any vehicle expenses in there, although we know this would go down a little bit. You still figured that, particularly with the rural lines, you're out driving rural lines yet, so we would still have some vehicle expense associated with that. Revenue from decreased water loss, that is, increased amounts of water metered. Those water loss numbers are on page 20, but for the past 3 years, water loss has been 47%, 46%, 43.8%. So if we have the chance to reduce that water loss percentage, there's the opportunity for increased revenue. Now, this calculation is just simply saying here's what we pumped versus here's what we sold, and anything else is just considered loss. And we know that we can account for some of that water, whether it's through unmetered buildings, unmetered city buildings, campground. If we do have fire hydrants, either used in a fire or fire hydrant flushing, you know, these things add up over time. Backwashing at the water plant, that's a routine thing they use for. So our loss percentage really isn't quite that high. But for the numbers, as far as what revenue, its effect on revenue, just think that if we can reduce that water loss percent by 5%, that is annual revenues of $11,600. So that can add up to a lot of money if we could look at 15-20% worth of decrease of water loss. Okay, so that's kind of the financial part of this meter.